Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian show by Joyeeta Basu. I'm the editor of the newspaper published from New Delhi. And today we are going to discuss the general election results that came out just a few days back. And as or rather not expected, the Narendra Modi, the BJP did not get a clear majority. But it is in a position, the NDA got a majority, and it is in a position to form government. Now, what exactly will Modi 3.0 be like? Which direction, how coalition politics will determine the policies taken by the government? Accordingly, today we have a very special guest to discuss all the issues, Professor Madhav Nalapat, who is our editorial director, and of course, a whole lot of other things as well. And he's the UNESCO Peace Chair at, I think, Manipal. So, Professor Nalapat, welcome to this show.
Thank you, Joyeeta.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, you see, what is your view of the way the elections turned up? And there is a buzz about, this could have been better and all. What is your view of the way the elections went?
Look, Joyeeta, from the start, I've always been, whenever I'm asked this question, how will it go? I've always said, we'll know on June 4. The fact of the matter is that the voter cannot be taken for granted. The voter is unpredictable. So exit poll we discussed on the ground on the assumption that they were right. But whenever I was asked for the election, I said, look, we'll know on June 4. I think I've been on record multiple times. And now we know on June 4 what the people of India have decided. They have clearly decided on Modi 3.0 because the BJP by itself has more, many more seats than the entire INDI alliance, which was what I would call the ABM, anyone but Modi group. So there's no question the voter wants Modi back. At the same time, that there is going to be a coalition, and that coalition is going to present new sets of challenges. So obviously, the way of managing a coalition, now the Prime Minister is an expert in all that. Now he will have to have people around him who will be similarly used to the handling of this kind of situation. And I'm sure he'll be able to find the right people to ensure that the coalition proceeds smoothly. So the point is, the big takeaway is Modi 3.0 is on, and the swearing in is going to take place of Modi 3.0. So that it is either going to be UPA 3 or Modi 3.0. The voters have decided Modi 3.0.
Yeah, so all that, propaganda that is going on, that this is actually a loss, to my eyes, I mean, it's frankly sounds strange. Because if you're looking at it, even say 10 years back, if the BJP or any political party for that matter had got these kind of numbers, people would be celebrating and saying, wow, what a fantastic number to get anything over 240. I think our expectations became too high in the last 10 years. That is the reason why this talk that's happening.
Frankly, Joyeeta, whenever a number gets tossed that makes people complacent, then the effect is that those voters who want to vote for you will say, chalo, धूप है, बरसात है, ये है, वो है, धूल है, so why should I vote? Anyway, our choice is going to get 400 plus seats.
Right.
So personally, in my view, a lot of voters thought there was no risk to the BJP not becoming the party of government and not getting a majority on its own. And I think they therefore did not really cast their vote. So I think that is one thing one can never be, frankly, it's always important to believe that the worst can happen. And that motivates the base. And from the other point of view, the ABM or INDI alliance, they were, frankly, in a panic mode because they saw the immense amount of effort the Prime Minister has put in. They saw the large crowds he's attracting. They saw the forecast of 400 plus seats. And they were absolutely in a mode in which they went all out. So I would say that the number of voters voters who was going to support, who want Narendra Modi to continue, which is a majority of voters, were not as, what do I say, were not as numerous at the polling booths as those who did not want Prime Minister Modi. The latter
Right.
came out in force, no matter what the weather, they came out in force and they voted. That makes quite a difference.
Absolutely. Now tell me, in Modi point three, when it comes to these coalitions, how reliable, because we know how Mr. Nitish Kumar has been flip-flopping. Even Mr. Chandrababu Naidu has had a tryst with these UPA 3, what you call, these people. How reliable can these allies are?
Joyita, look at the mathematics of it. The BJP is about
Mm-hmm,
240 seats. The
mm-hmm,
INDI alliance, that is anyone but Modi alliance, has around 220 odd seats altogether. They're not
mm-hmm,
got. They're one single party has 240 seats. A collection of
mm-hmm,
parties has got 220 seats altogether. Let's
mm-hmm,
say that you're thinking of joining an alliance.
mm-hmm.
I mean, which would be more stable? A single party with
Absolutely.
substantial number of seats. Now, Narasimha Rao, for example, lasted
Mm,
5 years. His own party tried to topple him because the very reforms that they embraced this year in the election
mm,
campaign, they talked about the
mm,
reforms. They didn't talk about the fact of Narasimha Rao, and they didn't talk about
mm,
the fact that all the senior Congress leaders, almost all of them, were worked very hard to topple him and to topple his government through at least the three and a half of those 5 years. At the same time, Vajpayee, it lasted for
mm,
it
mm,
lost because of various reasons. Part of it is also complacency, if you ask me. India shining. Uh, India was beginning to shine. So I
mm,
think if the slogan had been, "We have India is beginning to shine, and we will make it shine. Help us to make it shine," it would have been better than saying it's already shining. But let's face it,
mm,
you know, people in this country are facing multiple challenges on the economic front and on
mm,
various other fronts, especially the economic front. There is a
mm,
problem with unemployment. There's a problem with inflation. That problem was there during the India Shining campaign as well. So, in
mm,
my personal view, I think the best argument would be that look, for the Modi government, which is actually the factual argument, we need a Modi 3.0 to ensure that the reforms that we have carried out in Modi 2.0, Modi 1.0 was basically clearing the debris. Those reforms need a Modi 3.0. So please give us this next 5 years so we can do all that we promised for you. I think that message was correct. It was there, but I don't think it was, if I may say so, put out front quite so clearly. With the result
mm,
that a lot of people either did not vote for, or did not vote at all, thinking that anyway Modi 3.0 is coming. But the
mm,
main
mm,
point is Modi 3.0 is needed to ensure that all the hard work put in from Modi 1.0, 2.0 becomes effective. And that is where the question who won Modi 3.0 has come. So it's obvious who has won. Let's not go into numbers here. It's a fact the numbers are not what was expected by many people. But again, you will recall, Joyita, my telling you very early on months ago that you know if we get 300 plus, in the sense of being, let us say, the ruling party gets 300 plus, that will be fine, and it's almost got 300 plus. I said
I
that
mean, the
to
alliance, huh?
the alliance. So it is 300 plus, 295 is a very stable alliance. Number one.
Hmm,
Number two,
hmm,
INDI. Once it is convinced, once people there are convinced over 1 year, 1.5 years, that it is possibly, you know, it's not going to get any bigger. I mean, they have got
hmm,
this dream that Chandrababu Naidu will cross over, Nitish Kumar
hmm,
will cross over, they will all get power. And let's be honest. I mean, the INDI alliance is saying now, that they're not interested in power.
Hmm.
Initially, they said we are looking very hard at it and we are trying very hard at it. I
Hmm.
know from clear, I mean, my own personal contacts, they made multiple efforts to reach out to Nitish and multiple efforts to reach out to Chandrababu Naidu, and those efforts were rebuffed. Both Nitish
Hmm.
Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu made it very clear they fought this election as an NDA member, and that's going to continue. So after that, we find the tone has changed. So what is meant is we don't want power until power comes to us. Meanwhile, we will do our best to ensure that power comes to us. You can't blame them. In politics, there's a world of difference between being in opposition and being in power. A world of difference. You know, anyone who has been in opposition and who has been in power knows that. So, what they really mean is we're going to work 24/7 to try and come to power. In the meantime, of course, we don't want power. The fact is, unfortunately for them, power didn't want them. The voters' verdict
Yeah, can
meant that
I
power did not want them. So that is what
can I
happened.
make a
The voters' verdict was, frankly, that they want a Modi 3.0 and he has got a 3.0, and
hmm.
now definitely there are going to be a lot of challenges, but knowing the way Prime Minister Modi operates, and I've always, he once he takes control of the process, I can tell you that there is no question that this is going to last 5 years. And almost certainly, once you set these reforms going, you'll have a fresh round for the same alliance in 2029.
So before we start talk, I mean, I ask you about the reforms. I have a one question. What are the chances of India alliance becoming slimmer inside 1 year, losing
Look,
weight?
look, let's be honest. Akhilesh is not the chief minister of UP.
Yeah.
He is not the deputy prime minister of India.
Hmm.
Tejasvi Yadav is not chief minister of UP.
Hmm.
He's not the deputy prime minister or home minister or defense minister of India.
Hmm.
Uddhav Thackeray, frankly, let me be quite honest with you. I've communicated this to individuals. When that split
Hmm.
occurred and Uddhav broke away, I was very unhappy. And I pointed out that neither Mr. Ajit Pawar nor Mr. Shinde, the current chief minister, are going to be compensation. Uddhav is going to get a very large sympathy vote, and Uddhav is by far
Hmm.
the better. I
Hmm.
hope,
Hmm.
frankly, Uddhav understands that joining the Congress party is something completely, joining hands with the Congress party, antithetical to the teachings of Bala Sahib,
Yeah.
Bala Sahib Thackeray. I've had the privilege of meeting Bala Sahib Thackeray. One thing
Hmm.
I can tell you about him, he's a man of very direct language. He never hid his views, and frankly, he never hid his views about the Congress party ever. So I would hope that a way is found for Uddhav to return with honor to the NDA. I frankly feel that, for whatever reason he left the NDA, that reason, whatever it is, I feel the Prime Minister can take things in hand. And I think over the next few months or so, Uddhav may return to his natural home, which is the NDA, and leave the, the UPA, which frankly was definitely not considered the natural home. They're looking at the parties there of the individual who has motivated people to vote for the Shiv Sena, and they voted for Uddhav because the sympathy factor. And anyway, Uddhav has got many admirable qualities. To be frank with you, he is a very nice individual. He is not going to be a bad chief minister. So I hope that he would come back. As far as other parties are concerned, I don't know whether they come back or not. But I think Uddhav Thackeray, in my opinion, there a way. Look, a way has to be found to come back with honor to people. And
Right.
uh, politicians and MPs are going to get restless. As Sashi Tharoor, and I admire Sashi Tharoor for his language, I am quite, stunned that he won for a fourth time for a simple reason that Sashi Tharoor, as a member of parliament, was far less effective in getting things done in Trivandrum than he was as minister. He was a brilliant MP. He did so much for Trivandrum as a minister. He could not do that as an MP. And I don't know if there are too many MPs who don't want to be ministers but just remain MPs. Please, give me their names. I haven't met any of them, frankly. So when you have MPs who are saying, "Look, this government looks like it's going to last. It looks like we are not going to get come to power," they may have a change of heart. The point is, this tip, the ship has to be steered very carefully and expertly. And I think Prime Minister Modi has the capability to be the captain, to be the pilot, steering it in that manner. He's got good partners. The Chandrababu Naidu is the person who basically created Cyberabad. Hyderabad
Yes.
could be, I mean, frankly, just another Mofussil city, quote unquote. But today it is one of the great centers of the world. It's rivaling Bangalore. No, it's probably it's really rivaling Bangalore. It's rivaling Chennai. That's because of Chandrababu Naidu. And I know for a fact, for the last 4 years, Chandrababu Naidu has got people working on his plan to come as chief minister. I know for
Yeah.
a fact he's not interested in being the prime minister. He refused it twice. If he is asked a third time, and I presume he has been asked a third time, he would have given the same answer. Sorry, I'm very happy with my people of Andhra Pradesh, and I'm very happy with Amravati. I think the Andhra Pradesh people also live very, very happy, frankly, to have him because they know he's an outstanding administrator. Nitish, look, Nitish has got a pretty bad name now.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple. I don't believe he's going to add to that bad name by doing anything now. I think, as far as Nitish is concerned, his good days were with the NDA, and his good days will be with the NDA. So I don't believe either of these two, given the expertise of Prime Minister Modi as the captain, as the pilot, I don't believe that either of them is going to go away. I think Prime Minister Modi will ensure that they are given dignity, honor, and the full, responsibilities that come with being an important coalition partner.
So, viewers, when Professor Nalapat is talking about the probability, not the possibility, of the India alliance shedding weight, and maybe there are disgruntled souls inside the India alliance who may be looking elsewhere, take him seriously because he knows. All right. And now, can we talk a little bit about, what reforms are we expecting in Modi 3.0?
Well, I'd like to say one thing, Joyita, and I've been saying this for a long time. I think we should allow the states the right to decide on several policies. For example, the farm laws. So,
Right.
they are very good laws. One and a
Mm-hmm.
half states and a, I mean 1 and 1/4 and one another quarter, so 3 states opposed it. Everybody else was fine with it. Let the state
Mm-hmm.
government decide. I think the error
Right.
made was to make it a central thing. Everybody has to do it. Let the state
Mm-hmm.
decide. So let's go in for, let's say, uniform civil code. Let the state
Absolutely.
decide. In my opinion, uniform civil code, I'm a person who believes in gender justice and gender equality, and
Hmm.
some of the practices of different religions where women are concerned, have been abhorrent.
Hmm.
And there needs to be a uniform civil code to give equal rights to women for gender justice. So some states don't want to implement it, fine. Some states want to implement it, fine. Farm bill, some states want to implement it, fine. Some states, no, fine. But one thing I'm not comfortable with, and that is, some of the promises that the Congress party and its allies made. MSP for all crops.
Hmm.
That's going to be 6 times the total tax revenue that we have been collecting. Who's going to
Hmm.
pay
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
it? Is someone
Yeah,
going to come
exactly.
and give us the
Exactly.
money? It's
Hmm.
impossible.
Hmm.
Everybody gets a
Yeah.
government job. If everybody
Hmm.
gets a government job, who's going to pay the taxes for the government people to draw their salary? The fact
There
is,
won't be any
government is
government.
downsizing. The government is downsizing. The private sector is expanding. It should have happened in the 1950s. Unfortunately, we missed that chance. Narasimha Rao worked towards that, but his own party sabotaged a lot of it. His reforms are only
Hmm.
about one third complete because of internal sabotage and external sabotage. Many of them left and formed a rival
Hmm.
party, which
Hmm.
ensured that the BJP came to power for
Hmm.
at least 30 days and again came to power in 98. But the fact of the matter is that, if you look at it that way, it is very, very important to go forward with reform and make it more, in the sense, state oriented. GST, for example. I've
Hmm.
been demonetization. Let me remind you, I've said to demonetization, I was at that time itself, it's a brilliant idea. All the currency in the market goes into the banking system. So we have a
Hmm.
clear idea about the currency. At the same time, it's important to ensure that liquidity is not affected. A lot of
Hmm.
small enterprises need cash currency. Medium, even large enterprises, part of their thing, when they deal with so many dealers and all that, maybe those dealers are too tiny. Now, in that situation, I'd like to say the Reserve Bank failed the country by not ensuring sufficient liquidity. The Prime Minister had a wonderful visionary idea, which in implementation, the Reserve Bank failed by not ensuring liquidity. So that is, the point that I'd like to stress on that. Now, remember, this is the Prime Minister who was absolutely the vaccine champion of the world in terms of COVID. India has vaccinated more people than the whole world, even much more than China. But he never gave
Hmm.
a vaccine mandate. He never said, like, unlike so many Western countries who claim to be better democracies than India, Prime Minister Modi never said, you have to have a vaccine. In my own, my wife Lakshmi didn't take a vaccine. Yes, she had a lot of,
Hmm.
each time she went to on a trip, including abroad, she had to get an RT-PCR test. So she must have taken about 200 and odd tests just for travel. I avoided some of those tests, but I took two vaccines. But
Hmm.
he had no vaccine mandate at all, and he refused
Hmm.
to go to lockdown in 2021. He saw that the lockdown was there. He implemented it. That was the received wisdom at that time. Everybody talked about the
Hmm.
lockdown. And he had a very successful lockdown. I don't think
Hmm.
anybody has had a more successful lockdown than Prime Minister Modi in 2020. Xi Jinping had a very bad lockdown 2 years later, and he was forced to reverse it without much ado because of the public pressure. There was no public pressure because the lockdown was implemented very, very smoothly by Prime Minister Modi. But he didn't do it.
Hmm.
Subsequently, this is an individual who learns lessons from his experiences. Every month that he's in office, every day that he's in office, he picks up new lessons from that. So I'd only like
Hmm.
to say, Joyita, I think you will see a slightly more decentralized manner of operation. You will
Hmm.
see good policies definitely being promoted. Some policies that may not get full support, you will say let the states decide, and then let the
Hmm.
states decide. Once you have uniform civil code and you see the way women feel happy about it, and I'm sure they will,
Hmm.
triple talaq, they feel very happy about it. I'm sure that everybody will feel happy about it. Once that happens, the other states will fall in line. Farm bills, but MSP for uh, guaranteeing this kind of thing and showering almost such a huge amount of the budget on just the single crop in a single state. I think these are things that are problematic. I think we have to leave things to the market, frankly, and let the market decide. Now, for example, air travel. You have some situations where you have got some very, very busy sectors. You have to wait a
Hmm.
long time. You have huge crowds. Other sectors, not really. I think air travel also you can decentralize a lot more, so that you have
Hmm.
people coming in. Let the market decide. Prime Minister Modi has been a strong proponent of the market. Remember, he's the leader who first said minimum government, maximum governance. It is, and he believes in it. So I
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
believe
Hmm.
that civil aviation, for example, why should some other agency decide how many airlines should come in one particular sector? So what happens is one or two airlines have it, and all
Hmm.
the traffic comes there. Nobody else comes in. There has to be a little more deregulation, more decentralization in several sectors. And I can assure you, must be the top of the mind of Prime Minister Modi as he enters the Modi 3.0. And I repeat this what I said after the election results, that Modi 3.0 will be absolutely the best of the three phases of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in terms of results to the people.
Yeah, but at the same time, say, I mean, the unreasonable demands will be made by alliance partners. I'm talking about, say, today only I was reading about, I mean, the news is coming in that one particular political party, which is part of the alliance, I think JDU, they are saying that the Agniveer scheme should be scrapped. And of course, opinions vary on that. Then the old pensions scheme should be brought back. You know, how I mean, these are difficult demands to basically for the government to comply when at a time, so how will the government negotiate these things, navigate these troubling waters and the troubling, I mean, populist demands that are coming in?
Joyita, look at GST, for example. From the start, I've been of the view that GST, the rate should be cut significantly. And I've been of the view that, for example, a person who's got 20 lakhs and 5 rupees in a year pays the same 18% GST rate as professional income than a person who's making 200 crores a year as professional income. I think, frankly, that needs a relook. I think you have lower rates, you'll have better compliance. There's no question that a lot of small business owned people, a lot of people who are traders, they did not vote this time. I've seen it
Hmm.
happen. I've talked to them, and they were unhappy. Of course, the fact is they never thought that the INDI would come within viewing distance of power. Had that happened, they would have
Hmm.
swallowed their anger and voted.
Everybody would
But
have voted.
everybody would have voted, and you would have got possibly more. Frankly, Joyita, if you ask me, some of us had pointed out that there is a need for Uddhav Thackeray. I've always been sympathetic to him. In Tamil Nadu, I'm very happy that the BJP leadership and the TDP came together. It was a
Hmm.
win-win for both sides. In Tamil
Hmm.
Nadu, getting the ADMK on board would have been a
Yes, you have
win-win
been
for
saying
BJP and
for a long
ADMK.
time.
But what happened?
Yes.
It was kept out. And all, I mean, from what I know, the only ADMK demand was, please don't in public attack MGR and Jayalalitha, because then as a party, how can we, what will be our face before the electorate? Now, MGR and Jayalalitha were not even from Tamil Nadu. You're saying that we don't want an alliance with the Dravida parties. I'm talking about the local Tamil Nadu leaders. I'm not talking about central leaders who went by what the Tamil Nadu leaders wanted,
Hmm. Hmm.
being
Hmm.
democratic. MGR was from Kerala.
Yeah.
Jayalalitha was from Karnataka.
Karnataka.
They
Hmm.
were not even from Tamil Nadu. So, I mean, this just because the name Dravidian is there, because MGR broke away from the DMK. So he called it
Hmm.
Anna Dravida Munnethra Kazhagam. But the reality is, ADMK would have been a win-win for the BJP had that happened. Quite
Hmm.
possibly, I
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
tell you, another 20 seats in my view, minimum. Today, you're given a walkover to the DMK because of that. A party that has less
Hmm.
than 26% of the total vote share.
Hmm.
26%, Joyita, has got 95% of the seats because of
Yes.
that, because of the decision that ADMK, I mean, nobody is going to reach out to ADMK. So I am very certain now the central leadership, specifically Prime Minister Modi, is going to look very hard at at the recommendations he is getting, and he's going to check
Hmm.
out these recommendations, and he's going to, he listens to a lot of people. The one thing about Prime Minister
Hmm.
Modi or Chief Minister Modi or even General Secretary of the BJP, Narendra Modi, he has got a wide range of people whom he listens to. He may not
Hmm.
agree with them in all issues, but he listens to them. And that's a great habit of his. So I'm very certain that, his leadership, he is going to be listening to people, those people who went wrong, obviously, whether, when somebody goes horribly wrong, I think it's a safe bet that it's difficult to imagine that person having much credibility. When people go right, I think it's important to understand that their credibility is built up. And Prime Minister Modi is a very practical person. He's an outstanding administrator, and I'm very, very certain that he's going to be very, very watchful and very, very clear. Number one. Number two, Agniveer, certainly it may not be perfect now. GST was not perfect when it was introduced. A lot of changes were
Hmm.
made. Now,
Hmm.
unfortunately, all the problems in GST, which traders and professionals and others are blaming on the central government, the state governments have a responsibility for that. I mean, I know that the
Hmm.
finance minister, who obviously was listening to the prime minister, wanted GST reforms. But several state governments, almost all of them run by opposition parties, were opposed to GST reforms. They were opposed to, for
Hmm.
example, petroleum coming into GST, things like that.
Right.
So, unfortunately, the state governments created the obstacle, and the central
Hmm.
government got a bad name. So, I think that also was the problem, in my opinion. But I think this time around, I think you are going to see a greater push to reform, a greater transparency. This is what we want. This is the impact it will have on you. If you say that, for example, a tax reform, a person who's earning this much will have so much lower taxes, I think that
Hmm.
will be very, very attractive. It'll be difficult for state governments to oppose it. So I think
Right.
GST reform, direct taxes reform, the way
Hmm.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman wanted, on the guidance of Prime Minister Modi, a lot of it was blocked by states. And that, I think, that effort is going to continue. And as far as Chandrababu Naidu is concerned, 100% he's a reformer.
Right.
He's one of the, I mean, he's known as a reformer. And as far as
Hmm.
Nitish is concerned, he wants to leave a legacy behind. A legacy is the
Hmm.
Swarnam Bihar. That legacy
Hmm.
cannot come without reform. Nitish, frankly, went into things like prohibition, unenforceable. It created a lot of illicit distillation and the mafia, as it did in Haryana long ago. I think Bansilal was the person who did that. He want, I mean, so many things. The English language, for example, Joyita, it's a great
Right.
asset. India is where it is in the IT world because the computer coding language, English, is known to hundreds of millions of Indians. So you can't just throw it away. Nitish Kumar,
Hmm.
unfortunately, he almost threw it away. He has learnt a lesson from all that, from prohibition,
Hmm.
from his thing that no, हमको अंग्रेजी नहीं चाहिए, ये नहीं चाहिए, वो नहीं चाहिए. We want to go
Hmm.
back to the 1940s, 1930s, and maybe
Hmm.
1950s. I think he knows you have the young people want the 21st century. You have to go into
Right.
the 2030s, 2040s.
Hmm.
So Nitish Babu is a very shrewd politician. So I'm very, very
Hmm.
certain he will also be pro-reform.
Hmm. So basically, these regional leaders will also have to keep a check on their own flock so that they do not start making wild demands. I think coalition politics, I mean, the way I look at it, it cannot be one way in terms of the appeasement, quote unquote, the appeasement will be happening from on the side of the majority party, the party that has the numbers, but it is the also the, I mean, it should not, the smaller parties also should not be looking at coalition politics in terms of we are doing you a favor. I mean, basically, they should be taking the opportunity that such a politics kind of offers to them and try to improve the lot of the states that they are there. So I think there has
Joyita,
to be give and take.
Joyita, the BJP itself is a coalition of different kinds of individuals. Take, for example, Suresh Gopi. He
Right.
contested from a Christian dominated constituency.
That's
BJP.
very interesting.
He
Hmm.
won with more than a
He
lack
won.
of votes. He
Hmm.
reached out to the Muslims, he reached out to the churches, and he won. He won
Hmm.
that seat for the BJP. Suresh Gobi represents a point of view which some others may not other people who are members of his party may not represent, a few. So let's be honest, the BJP itself is a coalition. And I think looking at
Hmm.
results, you will agree that the important thing is what results work. I've always been, as you know, on every show, I've been very clear that we have to take everybody with us. I have been very clear we cannot distinguish. And appeasement politics is wrong. It's based on of the certain other parties. It's based on the two nation theory. 370 was based on two
Hmm.
nation theory. It's that's why
Hmm.
I was opposed to it. So I can assure you that I agree totally appeasement politics is wrong. At the same time, fringe politics you have to avoid. For the sake of getting
Hmm.
what do I say? The fringe if by trying to get a 4% or 6% fringe, you may lose 10% or 15% of the mainstream. That's why Donald Trump
Right.
is reaching out to a lot of people. I find,
Hmm.
that even Steve Bannon is saying, oh my God, I don't like some of these picks. But he's smart. He knows what to do. So he's reaching out to people. I think he may even reach out to Nikki Haley. Of course, I
Hmm.
hope he goes on to Tulsi Gabbard, who's an outstanding individual as his vice president, but he's reaching out to people. Why? Because you know very well the fringe vote is nothing compared to the mainstream vote that you can attract. Narendra Modi
Absolutely.
is a development man. He's a man of the future. He's a man of the 21st century. And he can attract a whole lot of votes. So I do firmly believe that he's going to, that persona is going to come. As for, demands, etc., and all that sort of thing, look, everybody is welcome to make whatever, demands or requests they make, but they have to be put through the filter of practicability and, as you correctly said, the filter of whether it's good for the people or not. If you go by
Absolutely. Hmm.
Mahatma Gandhi's doctrine, that look at the poorest and see if they have benefited, I think that doctrine will work. And I'm very certain Nitish Babu, Chandrababu Naidu, these are two people who 100% will support Prime Minister Modi, because Prime Minister Modi has always looked at that vision of helping the poor. And he's doing that unstintingly, frankly. At the same time, creating development. Jagan, did only helping giving freebies. Same thing happened
Hmm.
to Siddharamaya, and both of them see what happened to them. You know,
Right.
uh, uh, so far as Chandrababu Naidu is concerned, yes, he did a lot for the poor, but he also did a lot to promote growth. So Prime Minister Modi
Right.
will do a lot for the poor in a way that promotes growth. And therefore, I think it's very important to ensure that, for example, the farm laws. I wanted the farm laws. It is not implemented. You can call it, I mean,
Hmm.
I feel that there was no need to appease. You could have said leave it to states, but very
Hmm.
importantly, central budget is a budget of all our money, and we have to use central budget to states that help themselves, and states have to be encouraged to help themselves. They cannot rely on the central crutch. So I'm very certain that this self-help doctrine is going to become the norm in Modi 3.0 in the way it is slowly becoming in Modi 2.0.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Now, viewers, before, my takeaways from this conversation I had with Professor Nalapat, that number one, we can expect Modi 3.0 to be stable and to continue. Number two, the alliance partners realize the importance of staying with this alliance primarily because they are going to gain a lot in terms of, the policies and all it does not. Number three, I would say, expect the India alliance to shed some weight. That's going to happen eventually, sooner or later. And number four, I would say some very ambitious young politicians in the South perhaps will get a reality check, because ultimately they are not, BJP is not in a position to come to power in one particular southern state, but it would have helped if the BJP had struck up an alliance with Tamil Nadu in particular, with AIDMK. So I think the BJP leadership and the Prime Minister is perhaps in the future having, they will be kind of assessing what impact that insistence to go alone had in states, go it alone in states like Tamil Nadu had or not. I think that will happen. And yes, some unreasonable demands will be made by some people, but I think it will be vetted. And I think the alliance partners will also have to control those impulses. Let's put it this way. So, yes, I hope I have summed it up accurately, Professor Nalapat.
Well, Joyita, you always do. Absolutely. But it's not
Thank
just
you. Thank
alliance
you.
partners. Everybody in this government has
In
to
this
understand
government.
that you're on
Hmm.
test and the people are the final judges. So you have
Yes.
to not only just pass that test, you have to get passed with distinction. Believe me,
Yeah.
the effort of the Prime Minister will be to pass with distinction. And that will be the effort of his partners and his fellow, and his cabinet colleagues. And I'm sure all the parties in this coalition as well.
So reforms are on course. That is the essential point of this,
Absolutely.
point of maybe 3.0.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Professor
No question
Nalapat.
about it.
Thank you, Professor. Yeah. Thank you, Professor Nalapat, for being on this show. And thank you, viewers, for watching. I hope that you have been able to, you know, glean a lot of information from this. And trust me, you have to read between the lines because Professor Nalapat said a lot of things. And if you hear him carefully and knowing the kind of access he has, knowing, the way he knows what is going on in government, trust me, he said a lot of things. Thank you for watching.
I just wanted to make a point that I have no relationship with government at all, none at
No,
all.
no, but
I am
you just
completely a
know
private
that. I
person.
know. You just know. I know that.
Well, I pick up a few things here and there. That I've done that, but that's about it. Absolutely zero relationship with the government in any form.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank
well,
you. Thank
thank
you.
you, Joyita,
And
for a
thank
very wonderful session. God bless you.
and
God
thank
bless
you,
you.
viewers, for watching. Until the next time.